afternoon, dear Westboroughites. Today we have an interview with a real sweet lady, somebody that I love dearly. She happens to be my aunt, but I love her anyhow. We are talking to Janet Harvey, and she was born, literally born in Westborough, not at the hospital, at home. And that doesn't happen too much these days except by accident. Back then it was more of a way of life. So, how are you, Janet?
I'm very well, thank
And
you.
you look
Jenny.
very well.
Well, it's because I feel good and I'm glad to be with you.
That's great. So again, we're going to go back in time and start at the beginning. Having been born in Westborough and grown up here, you have a lot of memories.
Yes.
So your folks, who were your folks?
My folks were Howard and Margaret McGlory. We lived on 15 Cottage Street, and I had 3 older brothers.
Okay.
And I was the only girl and spoiled, I guess.
I bet they'd say you were.
Oh, they did. They tried to make me feel that way, but
Yeah.
I was a tomboy.
Oh, really?
Oh, I love climbing trees. Oh, yeah. Playing football.
Wrecking havoc with the boys. So
Yeah,
that,
making their life miserable.
Now, Cottage Street is down in that little enclave off of Bay State at the time.
Yes.
So a lot of the working class and Bay State families were there.
Definitely.
And a lot of large families. There must have been, what, 1,001 kids that lived in that
Yes,
neighborhood?
yes.
A
There were
rough
the-
count?
Yes, Casaneris and the Nelpies and the Orlandos and the Antonios and, I could go on.
Oh, but
The
yeah.
O'Briens.
But it was a nice mixed culture, large
Right.
family neighborhood.
Yes,
And at the same time, they were all working class. They
Yeah.
all worked hard, the kids worked hard.
right.
So that, what did your father do?
My father was a mechanic. He built a garage on Phillips Street
Okay,
in Westborough. And he had, he ran a gas station, a Shell station. I'm not sure what the station is now, if it's a Shell or not.
where is it located? At,
Corner
on the
of
corner
Milk
of Phillips and Milk?
Yes.
Okay,
So he had the garage was across the street. Where
okay,
he did
all right.
the mechanical
Yeah,
stuff.
where the radiator
He
shop
had
is.
that with the radiator
Yes.
shop.
Yeah.
My father built that, had
Okay.
that building built
All
for his
right.
garage.
Yeah.
And he also sold Studebakers.
Don't you wish you owned one now? They'd be worth a ton.
I know, they sure would be.
They probably, well, they probably thought they were worth a lot back then.
Yeah.
But Studebaker, I don't know why they didn't make it in the new era.
No,
where
they just didn't.
lost traction. And,
Right.
but it's one of those great names in auto history, Studebakers.
Yeah, you just feel that
Yeah, it
strength.
makes me want to own one. So that at that point, so he did a little bit of everything, but it was obviously automotive control, and
Yes.
and it was to make a living and,
Yes,
and
definitely.
stay alive.
Yep.
Because again, this was the Depression era that you grew up in,
Right.
and here he is trying to make a living for his family,
Right.
and probably not as easy. It was probably back in the day. Did everybody used to own a car back then?
No,
Probably not.
no.
Yeah.
And if you had one and
Yeah.
you had to share.
Oh, yeah.
You
So,
know, it was, I'd like the car tomorrow night, because, my brothers would be that way.
make an arrangement, yeah, so that, pay somebody off so you could get his turn with the car.
Exactly.
So that at that point, so it wasn't the same as today when everybody has a couple of cars and a backup car and, you know.
Right.
And a sportsmobile or a truck or, so that, and I think today people don't appreciate the fact that, how could people live like that?
You
That,
just walked every place, you
yeah.
didn't think about it. You couldn't, there was no gas. I
Mhm.
mean, you couldn't get tires that had blowout on your car, you couldn't
Yeah.
get a tire replaced.
Yeah.
It was just completely different. We, as Jim and I were dating, we used to walk down on Sunday afternoons, we would walk down to an ice cream parlor on Route 9.
Where the old Eli Whitney was that the one that you went to?
Yes.
and then it became the Chinese restaurant. Somebody else was talking about that, and I can't.
Montrose.
Montrose.
Montrose
Yes.
Dairy. It was across the street from where the Chinese restaurant is.
Oh, okay.
It was
All right.
across the street. We used to walk it. You
And
know.
think nothing of it.
Yeah.
Well, of course, part of the joy was just spending time together.
Exactly.
So I didn't care if it took forever to walk
Yeah,
there,
that's
so
right.
I was
That's
happy to
right.
do it at that point. So, of the families that lived there, that you chummed around with, who were your best friends? And,
Joni O'Brien and the whole O'Brien
Okay.
family.
All
Let me
right.
just put it that way. That's
Okay.
the easiest. And the Cassanaries, I don't know, we just all kind of used to meet when we were really young over, we called it Belmont Hill, I think, in front of the house Rocky Polini used to live in.
Oh, okay.
It was just a little hill, but we used to think it was huge. And pull our sleds over there, and we'd
Like
all
that.
meet there,
Yeah. 6-foot drop, and it was great.
and it was wonderful.
So your memories are not of deprivation and starving and whatever. They were, to you, an ordinary childhood growing
Well,
up?
right, I mean, if you
Everybody was in the
were
same boat.
hungry and you wanted something sweet, you would have a piece of bread and butter with sugar on it.
Yeah,
That was your treat.
we used to have that too.
Oh, I loved it.
I gotta go back to doing that. I like bread and butter and
I
sugar.
I don't think I like it now, but. and
It
our
probably
meat-
doesn't like me.
And our meals were very different.
Mm-hmm,
My mother would make big batches
okay,
of, well, like if we had baked potatoes, that would be the meal.
okay,
The oven would be full of potatoes,
yeah.
and we'd have baked potatoes, because we didn't have the money to have meat all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and a potato was a good Irish filler-upper.
Oh, it sure was, and to this day, that's one of my very favorite things to
But you
have.
could also doctor that up with some stuff too.
Yes.
But, I mean, nowadays you can go in and buy baked potatoes that are
I
loaded,
know.
that, probably not healthy for you, but.
No, but they're good.
But they're good. Yeah. Well, that's it. If it doesn't taste good, it's not good for you, you know, but, at that point. Where'd you go to school? What were the school buildings that you went to?
Harvey Building, Eli Whitney, and then when you got to be one of the big kids in junior high, you moved into the high school.
Which was the Forbes building.
The Forbes building
Yeah.
on West Main
And,
Street. And that housed 7th and 8th and 4 years of high.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think they could get one place in there for one class
Well,
this
yeah,
year.
yeah. Another,
And this year.
another change is the population explosion
Exactly.
from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Miss Kelleher in second
Oh,
grade.
Irene Kelleher.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And I had the privilege, really, and I feel it was a privilege. I worked as a kindergarten aide
Oh,
and
later on.
for 17 years.
Yeah.
And during that time, Miss Kelleher would come to the field school and read to some of the kids and help them with their reading.
Yeah,
And when I first saw her, I was so excited, and I thought, oh, do I dare go up and speak to her and tell her how I really felt?
yeah.
And I got my courage up, and I did. I went up to her and I said, Miss Kelleher, and I explained who I was. And I said, I just want you to know, you were such an impression on me as a
Yeah.
teacher, and I want you to know that. I felt so good after I did that.
That's a lovely memory.
It really, it
that,
was great.
And to be able to express it to somebody that
know.
did have an impact on
Yeah,
your life.
it was great.
So that, well, I'm glad you were able to do that, and
Yeah,
I'm sure
me
she
too.
appreciated it, because there were a lot of good teachers.
sure.
And we all remember a teacher that everybody was scared to death of. That's
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, there were always those.
There were always those, and, but again, like most memories, the scaredness fades over time and they
Right.
become acceptable.
Yeah.
That we've worked for a few after they retired, and you know, they were wonderful women. And but when you're a little kid,
Oh,
just
yeah,
a
the
little
authority
different.
that they had over you.
So when you were in high school at the Forbes building, of course, everybody walked. Right?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
they have school buses? Did they used to, how did kids from the outliers manage to?
They had school buses for the real,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 2 buses.
A couple of miles away, yeah. And the few kids on the farms.
Yeah.
That couldn't drive their tractor into school.
Exactly, that wasn't allowed.
That's, at that point. Did they have the Mary M back then when you were in school?
Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that's where Jim and I had our wedding reception,
Oh.
which our kids
Oh,
keep.
really?
Oh, you have no idea how
I
they
didn't
think
know
that is the
that.
funniest thing
It's
in
a
the
hoot.
world.
It's now the Mary M Apartments on the corner of West Main Street and across from the Forbes building.
It was a little
And
tea place.
Down under.
Underneath was an ice cream place.
Yes.
And I used to work there when I was in high school.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. And then upstairs, they served lunch and dinner maybe a couple of nights a week.
Okay.
But it was just a nice little,
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
family.
Well,
The Nichols family ran it.
I don't remember the dining room upstairs, but.
Well, it wasn't too
it-
fancy.
Yeah, well, nothing
And it wasn't,
was.
But it looked, I thought it looked lovely that day.
Oh, I bet it did. That the memories of when you got married and where in the hall, and you know, now with all these destination weddings, but back then it was still a special day, and where you were and what you did
We-
would always shine as a.
I mean, we left the Congregational Church and just went across the street. And there we were.
And had ice cream.
We had non-alcoholic
Yeah.
punch.
Yeah.
And because we weren't of age to do
That's
anything
right.
any more than that anyway, so.
Even after the prohibition.
Right.
Yeah, so.
So,
The,
it was,
But we remember when we used to get kicked out of the library for making too much noise, we used to go down to the Mary M to hang
ice
around
cream was delicious.
till they threw us out for making too much noise. So
Yeah.
that, but again, it was one of those little. They weren't all these ornate and large. They were just little mom and pop stuff. you know,
Exactly.
all around that
Yeah.
were part of the fabric of your life.
Right.
And as I've shared with others that when we've talked, but downtown was a real magnet because it had everything.
Had everything.
Nothing you couldn't get down there.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
We had a shoe store,
Yeah.
which also Noah drank,
Yeah.
was a tax collector, so you'd go in with your tax bill.
One stop does it all.
And we had 2 drugstores,
Yeah.
and a men's shop, and a woman's shop, and
What was the name of the woman's shop?
Berkeley.
Berkeley. Okay.
It's still on the corner of Milk and Main Street.
Right.
And it's I don't know whether
A
it's,
boutique or. But it's
something.
lotions and potions and it
kind
seems
of
to me.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
yes.
That and Lord's was the
And
men's
Lodge
shop
was the
right
men-
next
right
to it.
next to it.
That,
And then, because the barber shops, lots of barber shops.
yeah, 6 or 8. Everybody got their hair cut every couple of weeks, whether they needed it or not.
Exactly.
I don't know if that was because we all wanted to go in and read the girly magazines or whether we really needed a haircut at that point. But for 35 cents, you got sent down to get your hair clipped.
I know, when you think of it.
And the old guys sitting around in there chewing the fat all day long. It was like the coffee shop. They would hang around,
Yeah.
chit chat and whatever. Do you remember the 5 and dime?
Oh, sure.
Was there a name to it other than the 5 and dime?
No,
It was-
5 and 10 cent store.
Yeah, that.
Had 2 entrances, or exits, whichever you
Yeah.
wanted. But it had 2, and that always
Yeah.
amazed me. That
Yeah.
was kind of, if you wanted the candy and that stuff, you went in the first
Close to
one
this
if you
door.
wanted.
Yeah, but it was, it was a vibrant downtown. Everybody came to the
A lot
downtown.
of grocery stores,
To do-
independent
Yeah,
groceries.
the little ones
Yeah.
downtown. Daisy's Diner.
Oh, yes.
Now, who ran Daisy's Diner? It was one of the Orlandos?
No,
No.
Fran Meehan,
Oh, okay.
who, let's see, now his sister was married to John Gannon, Senior.
Okay,
but Fran ran Daisy's.
okay. But, I did
And-
not know that.
Yeah.
back
And the Means used to live behind.
in the
our
little house? Oh, behind your house?
Behind
down,
my
okay.
house on Cottage Street,
All right, so that.
where the cows used to run up and go on the lawn.
Everybody got free fertilizer when the cow
Yeah, they
drive
did,
was
you
on.
know, everybody was so excited to see them come. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, big
Just-
doings.
Yeah.
That it wasn't an aggravation.
No,
that,
not at all.
Well, my memories again are that the traffic jams in Westborough when I was a kid was because the farmer was driving his cows across from one pasture and across the road.
Right,
And,
that would be
and
it.
that's what you had to stop traffic for. It
Yes.
wasn't 6 miles of backup. It was when Jim Ward drove the cows across West Main Street.
Oh, that's right.
When Bay State got out. I think he used to do it just to aggravate them. But again, it was a whole different sense. And the fact that farms were so close to the center of town. You know, it really was the country. You know, the town was a little island in the middle of farms.
Well, it was considered where we live now, way out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Jim was way out South
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and you'd come to Pine Grove Cemetery and that would be, oh, you didn't want to go any further than that because you
Into
really
the
way
wilds,
out.
the wilds of Westborough at
Right.
that point. That, yeah, that's interesting, how that concept, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, people wouldn't want to walk that far nowadays, but, you know, if they're driving, it's nothing, you know.
It's
that's-
nothing,
that's not worth, you know, you can't get a good restaurant unless you go to New York, but that type of stuff. What other restaurants were there around? Do you remember? Did you ever go out to eat?
Thompson's Lodge,
The steakhouse.
the steakhouse.
That was a happening place.
That had delicious hamburgers and
Yeah.
delicious steak.
Yeah, yeah.
We hit there once a year. You couldn't afford to go
Yeah,
out
yeah,
to
you
eat.
saved the money then to do
And
that.
go on your anniversary, that's
Yeah.
when we used to do it.
Did they have a dance floor out there that they used to have
Yes,
bands
yeah.
come in? I thought they
And,
did.
and they had a small band,
Yeah,
and of course that kinda
yeah. It was-
drew you.
Well, yeah, was icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I don't know that I was ever in Thompson's Steakhouse. I drove by it and I remember it, but I wasn't allowed to, it was gone, I think, by the time
I think it probably
I became
was.
legal.
Right.
And Mom and Pop never go to a place like that, so.
Yeah.
that,
No, we used to go and eat and dance.
Yeah,
That was,
stretch it out as long as you
Yeah.
could. But, so, what do you remember of Route 9? That, you know, what was Route 9 like back when you were growing up, early married?
well, it sure didn't have any car dealerships on it.
So,
It was just opened,
farmland?
yeah.
What were the
Lots of-
farms that were along there?
Oh, boy.
Caprillions,
Caprillions, that
They had-
probably was the largest.
Turkey Farm on the
Yeah,
corner of
Turkey Farm.
Otis. All right.
And,
Bogosians?
across the street.
Across the
Yeah,
street.
they had that. But so much of it was just plain open,
Yeah,
you know?
that it wasn't, because there were, Kajoyan's Egg Farm, they were somewhere down there on Route 9,
I don't
weren't they?
remember
It seems to
Cajoleons
me.
at all.
How about the Speedway? Was that there when you were a kid? When did the Speedway come in?
Oh, yes, that was there.
Where Stop and Shop is, for those of you, that's why it's called the Speedway Plaza or
Oh,
whatever.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so they've kept some of the history, but people
Yeah.
don't know what the hell is that.
yeah, oh, no, that used to be a busy place on the weekends.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And everybody could hear it when it
No.
was going on. I don't think there was
all
a
over town.
place
That,
in town that didn't hear
But
it.
did you ever go? Did you go to the races?
took the kids.
Yeah, yeah, we used to take the kids too,
Yeah.
before they closed down.
Yeah, they loved it. I
Particularly, yeah.
thought it was very boring
Bring-
myself.
around. Well, except for the smash-up derbies.
Yeah.
That's, my kids always loved the smash-up
Oh, yeah,
derbies.
I did too.
You know, I had something base in the human nature that likes to see two cars run into each other. So that, unless it's your car
Unless
that's in
it's
there.
yours,
Yeah. Hey, Pop, can I borrow the car tonight? So you met the love of your life
I should.
in high school. and you cemented the deal at the Congo Church and the Mary M, the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
And you've been together for how long?
69 years.
How about them apples, folks? 69 years.
We think it's going to work.
She's taking a stab at this one. I don't know, the jury may still be out, but I think that's obviously a credit to the both of you to make it work. And we all know, it doesn't happen one side or the other. It's something that you work at together.
Exactly.
And nobody wins, nobody loses. Everything's a compromise. So I applaud you on your ability to
Thank you.
make that happen and set an example that's so hard for kids today.
Oh, I know, I don't understand the other way at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
I don't understand.
Because nobody wants to give in. And there are times everybody has to give in. And it's not one-sided.
Yeah.
And so, how many kids did you have?
4,
4.
1 daughter and 3 sons.
Okay.
And as you found out, 3 of the children work for Jim.
Yeah.
But then our son Jimmy has his own business. He didn't leave the farm.
He didn't leave the farm.
He didn't.
And that's something I'm sorry I didn't cover when I got to, there's always something you say afterwards, oh, we should have talked about this or that. And so, little Jimmy, although he probably still rankles to be called little Jimmy.
Oh, yeah.
He grew up being little Jimmy.
No.
And now as a big boy, he's not little Jimmy, but he stayed on the farm.
Oh,
And
that's what he loved.
he has turned that into a successful business.
Yes, he has. He and his daughter have done
Emily?
Emily.
Yeah. When almost all of the other there's Nurse's raspberry farm out there, and I'm not sure there's an apple orchard or anything left in town, I don't think. Are they still doing apples at Arnold's Apple Orchard?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
The only one is Crosman, is it Crosman up by Arnold's?
Okay,
I can't remember the name. I really
Okay.
can't.
but little Jimmy, again, sorry Jimmy, because he isn't Jimmy Jr.
No, he's
He's
not.
Jimmy the Two. But he had obviously a passion for the land and for understanding vegetables as opposed to cows.
Right.
But nonetheless, he really has become a master of his craft.
Yeah, he has, because he's, anybody that buys these gourds that have come out in the last few years that are all prickly and bumpy and all that, that's the gourd that he developed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And the seed company, I don't say because I'm not sure the name,
Okay.
bought the seeds from him, and so he has that.
Yeah.
And right now he has an apple tree that he's growing 5 different kinds of apples on.
Oh, on the same tree. Oh, so he's grafted on different.
Right, he's grafted.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, but that's the type, you have to be interested
Oh,
to
yeah.
experiment and willing to fail, and the frustration that goes with trying to
Exactly.
make the damn thing work.
Yeah.
So I give him credit for that. But he's done a wonderful job turning that into, the garden center that it is today. That's a lovely spot.
It really
down
is
there.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And that all comes from Grandma Harvey.
Oh, okay.
He always wanted to plant stuff as a kid. So she had a garden in the back of
Yeah.
her house that your dad
I
had built.
remember that.
And the first year, he went and he planted stuff, never paid any attention to it. She used to say, "You grew the best crop of weeds that I've ever seen."
Yeah.
And that sparked him into, well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to work at it.
Yeah.
So it was her.
Oh, I never realized that.
Yeah, it
That's
was-
where he got his start in doing it.
Yeah.
But, because I know Mom would do a little garden and she'd get us out there and we'd all plant carrots or some other damn thing and walk away and expect it to magically show up on a plate come fall, which it never did, at that point. But I never pursued it like Jim did.
Yeah, no,
But,
that was what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And he just turned the age of retirement, and he said, well, I'm gonna retire, I've made up my mind. And I said, well, you can't really retire. And he said, well, I'm going to. He said, but I'm gonna do something I really want to do. He said, I think I'll garden.
Okay.
So, you know, we've laughed about that. So he said,
Yeah.
I don't feel I'm going to work, I feel I'm going
Boy,
to do something that I
Yeah.
wanted to do.
everybody's job should be like that,
Yeah.
that you love what you're doing, and
Yeah.
it's nice when you can make a living at it at the same time. But to be able to follow and get that enjoyment and satisfaction, whether it's working with your hands or your brain or your
Whatever.
computer or whatever, that's a wonderful ability. That you're not oh, well, only 8 years, 4 months, and 6 days until I can retire.
Oh, yeah, that
How-
would be horrible.
How deadly that must be.
No.
So so let's talk about the little kids, when you were a teacher's aide.
Oh, that was fun. That was plain fun.
What grades?
Just kindergarten.
Just kindergarten?
Just kindergarten.
Okay.
It was when
You were a
kindergarten.
specialist.
Kindergarten just came into being
Yeah.
in the schools. I can't remember what year it was. And Sarah, Sally Gibbons called me.
Oh, okay.
And she said, we're looking for some people that might be interested in some part-time work. And I was wondering if you could be interested in working in the library with children. And I knew that they were looking for people for different things.
Mhm.
And I said, yes, I would, but if I had my choice, I'd like to work in kindergarten. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, those are all filled. And I said, oh, okay, then I will. I'll
Yeah.
do the library. So a couple of days went by, she called me back and she said, just made the arrangements. And so you're gonna go into kindergarten. So I worked with the same
Nice.
teacher for 17 years,
Nice.
Carol Moore.
Carol Moore.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm not sure which one of my kids had her, but I believe one of them did.
Probably.
I did, one of them had everyone, sooner or later, at that point.
So,
But, and, so again, it wasn't work. That was
I loved
fun.
it.
Kindergarten kids.
There was 2 sessions of kindergarten,
Mhm.
and it was
That's right.
very
One-
difficult because each teacher had 25 children.
Mhm.
I mean, once in a while you'd get a class of 18, but very rarely.
Yeah.
They were always up the top.
Yeah.
So I used to say my volunteer work was when I would stay
Mhm.
to help with the second group that came in.
Yeah.
That was my volunteer
That's-
work. So,
As opposed to your vocation.
that's right.
So,
So,
well, when we got up to Maine, I volunteered in the kindergarten for 7 years. 1 day a week, I would just go in and be a teacher's aide for them.
but isn't it?
Oh, they are just
If
full
you
of the
could-
devil and, and sponges soaking up everything, good and bad.
Oh, yeah. And funny, I wished I had had the
Oh,
time
yeah.
to write down the different things that they would just
The-
say.
The old Art letter, kids say
Oh,
the damnedest things.
Exactly.
So,
It was wonderful.
but that's it. It's not only wonderful to do, but a wonderful memory looking back on, and,
Really
and a
was.
productive thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just killing time.
No, I
Just
really
passing
felt
time.
it was good.
Yeah. So let's talk about your grandkids.
Well, we have 11, 9 girls and 2 boys.
Ah,
And Josh works for Jim.
mhm.
And Mark right now is doing some traveling,
Okay.
and that's Linda's son.
Mhm.
Josh is Jimmy's son.
Okay.
And Josh has 2 children, married, has
Oh,
2
good.
children.
Great grands.
And, yeah, great.
Yeah.
And Mark is traveling.
Yeah. Okay.
And Jimmy also has the daughter Emily.
Mhm.
And then down into Doug. Now he has 4 girls. And those 4 girls, one goes to Worcester Academy, one goes to Northeastern, one goes to a college in Connecticut, and the other one is a photographer in Boston.
Oh, really?
She does a lot of weddings and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Okay.
And so those are Doug's. And Steve's, two of his daughters work for Jim.
Okay. Nice.
And his 3rd daughter is at the University of New Hampshire
Okay.
as a
Very
freshman.
Nice.
She's
Okay.
just gone out.
But that's good, a diversity of what they like to do and what they want to do and pursue.
Right.
So that,
And I didn't mention Meredith, who is Linda's oldest daughter.
mm-hmm.
And she has a son, Jack, who's 10 and
Wow.
loves sports.
Ah.
They live in New York, so we don't get
State
to
or the city?
the state.
Oh, yeah, yeah. City's kind of tough.
Chappaqua is where they live.
I'll take your word for it.
It is, it is. And then Stevie's middle daughter, Lindsay, had a little girl, was married, had a little
Oh.
girl.
Nice.
And so that gives us 4 great-grandchildren.
4 great-grandchildren.
2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah, lovely. That's,
So,
and not that you're a doting grandmother and great-grandmother.
No.
But, not for a minute,
No.
I wouldn't think so. But they're close enough so that you are, other than New York, that you're able to
Right.
have and see and participate in their lives
yes,
as well.
yeah.
Which is unusual in this day and age of nuclear
Certainly
explosion,
is.
that, kids are all over the globe, let alone all
Oh, I
over the
know,
country.
that's what I mean about Doug's kids.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
gone so many different places and different
yeah,
schools and
Yeah.
like that.
but, now, you must have traveled once in a while, gone a few places.
Oh,
What,
Jim and I have gone
Yeah.
a lot of
yeah,
places.
what's
Thanks
some of your
to the-
favorites?
Well,
Not just for you were gonna say thanks to the Shriners? That,
Oh,
No, you,
no.
okay.
no, thanks to business.
Oh, thanks to the business. Oh,
We went-
you get to go to trash conventions.
Oh, yes.
Or
They were
recycling
wonderful,
conventions.
they were wonderful. Met
So-
some wonderful people from all
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
this country.
yeah,
And
That's
have
nice.
some good friends
mm-hmm,
in a lot of different states.
okay. But one of your favorite vacation spots or memories of a?
Can I give the most recent?
Oh, sure, whatever
Last
works.
year, our kids got together for our 68th wedding
Okay.
anniversary and made all the arrangements for us to go away for 10 days when they wouldn't tell us where or anything about it, just to pack casual
Okay.
and not
Pack-
to worry about it.
Pack 10 days worth of underwear and we'll take care of the rest.
So, we got to the airport and we sat near a New York thing and they knew we liked plays, so we figured it all out. That's where we're gonna go and go see some shows, So they kept loading and the kids kept standing there. I finally went up to them, I said, the plane's almost all loaded. And they said, that's not the one we're taking, turn around.
Oh.
So I turned around and there it said Los Angeles, and I thought, oh my Lord, I hadn't planned on making that kind of flight.
Yeah.
So we went there, we went to Reagan's,
Oh, the library.
the library,
Yeah.
and they had wheelchairs for us, so
Oh.
we couldn't walk it. We never would
Oh,
have
I
been
would-
able to go
I would think
if
not.
they hadn't have been there to have taken us.
Excellent.
And every day we moved someplace else.
Yeah,
We had a big van with the wheelchairs in it, and
Yeah.
off we went, and we just had a
Isn't that
wonderful
nice?
time. It
Yeah.
was wonderful.
a great memory
Yeah.
for them as well as you, to be able to
Exactly.
provide something that was unique, that you
Yeah,
hadn't
it really
done.
was.
Well, that is terrific. I think at this point that we're running to the end of the time.
I think so.
And again, I want to say thank you for taking the time, for sharing your memories, that I have enjoyed it. I always learn things, and I always appreciate what people are willing to share.
Oh, that's
So-
great. I thank you, Denny.
I won't shake your hand, I'll give you a kiss.
Well, I'm gonna
Oh,
give you a hug.
you. Thank you.
Thanks, Denny.
All righty. Sayonara.